Buddy. Now, have you all heard that song before? There we go. That's pretty good. Of course, Buddy is a classic De La Soul song with the Jungle Brothers, and the remix has the entire Native Tongues Collective associated with them. And so just as was said when the record cut, we are going to talk about Buddy today. But what we're going to do is we're going to put a bit of a psychological twist on it. Now, in the basic way of understanding a buddy, we understand them as being a positive support, someone who uplifts us to be our best possible selves. And we're going to talk about Buddy in the same way, but we're going to talk about it in terms of inner narratives that allow for you to be your best possible selves. Now, the thing is that we all have positive inner narratives, right? Psychologically, they're attached to personality psychology, and it allows for us to make sense of the world, both internally and relationally, how it is that we understand folk outside and the situations that we engage. But the thing is that so often there are master narratives that are negative that oftentimes pull us to them instead of to authentic positive selves, and they render us, or these narratives, invisible. Now, of course, Ralph Ellison has helped us understand what invisibility means with his seminal work, Invisible Man. And he says, and I'm going to paraphrase here a little bit, I'm invisible not like those ectoplasms that you see in movie screens and whatnot, but I'm invisible because people see anything and everything except me, right? They see things that they must imagine me to be. And I dare say that what he's talking about here is they see stereotypes. Again, these negative narratives that pull from authentic understandings of who we are. And so the thing is that when we are rendered invisible, we oftentimes do mighty things to be seen. And they're things that are misfit to core narratives that define who we are. Early narratives, early stories that allow us to make sense of how it is that we trek through our lives. Now, like I said, we all have these inner narratives. There are origin stories. So here's mine. The earliest person that I remember is my granddaddy. His name was Arthur Albert Wall, but his nickname was Buddy. And by all accounts, he was the nicest person I'd ever met. Family and friends talk about how he consistently lifted them up to be the best possible them that they could have been. Now, my memory of Granddaddy begins with smells of bacon and eggs in the kitchen. I remember getting up one morning and having him come into the room and scoop me up in his arms and answer the front door. To some nondescript caller, he was saying hello, and then he said something to the effect of, "Oh, this is my big, strong grandson here." And then he shuffled me off to the kitchen where, of course, the bacon and eggs had a more robust smell. And the thing that I really remember is him opening the newspaper and beginning to read. And I leaned heavy into his stomach. I can still smell the newsprint, and I squint a little bit from the sunlight that's coming in through the kitchen window. And that's it. That's the story. It's simple, it's regular, but it's healthy in its regularity. Now, the thing is that my granddaddy actually passed soon after this story that I'm recalling for you. And I feel an absence with my granddaddy's passing, but I don't feel empty because of it. I mean, there are things that I want to hear him say. I want to hear him say something like, "You've done well by your mother," which was his youngest daughter, or that you're a great father, or that you're an okay college professor. He was chair of the chemistry department at Norfolk State University. But I didn't have those things for him to say to me. But I had that story, kind of that true north. And what that provided for me was it provided me a little bit of a behavioral superhero to bring me back to the center of being good. Now, the idea of having these storied narratives also maintain as a storied truth that, again, I orbit toward, right? There are these truths and these norms that are fit for me instead of stereotyped norms that, again, pull us to them, again, having us be inauthentic selves. Now, for me, this is a bellwether narrative. This storied truth that I'm referring to with my granddaddy just picking me up and let me lean into him in the kitchen is basic, but it's something that allows me to be visible beyond stereotypes that are often affixed to black men and black boys as well. Stereotypes that are deficit-based and pathological in orientation. Now, the story that I told you is none of those things. It's just basic, normal, and human. And that makes all the sense in the world for it to be because I'm simple, basic, and I'm human, right? But it also allows for us this attachment to these narratives of good and of health and of wholeness. It affords us a certain amount of freedom. Again, I'm thinking about this, and you kind of can tell by the slides that are in front of you. We have it as kind of a graphic novel because we're thinking of this in terms of these narratives, in terms of being, behavioral superheroes. When I was young, I loved Spider-Man. There was this fundamental emphasis on being good and on doing good. So you can imagine that if I loved Spider-Man when I was a kid, when Miles Morales and Into the Spider-Verse dropped, I went bonkers. This idea of having faith, of doing good, of being good, attaches itself to my buddy narrative, to that inner story of good. Now, the thing is that this innocence and this goodness and this faith is an expression also of self-love. That's important to remember. But it's also important to remember that the way that these stories play allow for you to orchestrate the healthiest possible selves imaginable. And it's also important to recognize that this self-love is dynamic in nature. It's not static. It has to do something, right? And that's also cornerstone for the archetype of Spider-Man. It says here, with great power comes great responsibility. So to extend my origin story a bit further, I'd like to go here. Here you actually see my granddaddy still. He's let's see, off to the left-hand side, our left-hand side here, right? It looks like he's playing the piano and the dog in front of him. He's also sitting next to other family members, his sister's there. And then to my granddaddy's left is my great-grandfather, Arthur Allen Wall. Arthur Allen Wall was beloved as well as my grandfather was. He was kind of like the buddy 1.0, right? He was a medical doctor in Rankin, Pennsylvania, and it said that he actually accepted chickens as payment, a time or 10. It's actually also said that he was so committed to community that he got up out of his deathbed to see to his patients. And if this is actually the case, it makes all the sense in the world, because the reason that he was a medical doctor wasn't so that he could stunt, right? Not so he could floss, although I think he looks awesome in his tie there. The reason that he was a medical doctor is because there were things poured into him in terms of responsibility. The reason that he was a doctor is because of his sisters. His sisters are pictured to the far right. His sisters were enslaved, and when they became free, they put their money together so that they could send their baby brother to Leonard Medical School, which is at Shaw University. He was expected to do right by community. He was expected to be good, and he was expected to do good. Again, following this behavioral superhero theme here. Now, the thing that's so important to recognize when we're talking about this idea of buddy narratives is that internal narratives, again, are attached to this personality fundamental of adaptation. And we know that, quite frankly, black folk have this adaptation genius in spades because of how it is that we have to negotiate contexts of white supremacy, right? We know that W.B. Du Bois talks about our not being torn asunder because there's this fundamental strength that allows us to negotiate a black cultural experience as well as an American cultural experience. What we posit here is that being able to bear down on these positive, asset-rife narratives allow for us the strength to maintain and to persevere and to teach through white supremacist contexts. This is a fundamental truth that's important for us to recognize. The other thing that we understand with respect to internal narratives and storied selves of strength is that once we attach ourselves to them, once we practice them, once we kind of lean into them, that begins the ability for us to paradigm shift. So often we're taught that social ills are important to be able to negotiate and change through shifting paradigms, how it is that we understand things just to be. Well, if we understand that we have inner narratives of love and responsibility, and we know that these actually are able to confront and break master narratives of race, class, gender, and other marginalizing spaces of stereotype, then we know that we can change the way things are through personal examples that are dynamic, attaching ourselves to inner stories that are dynamic and that help for us to change the world. Sounds Herculean, but it's able to be done, right? Here's an example. When we think of mass incarceration, modern day slavery in the prison industrial complex, when we think of the mistakes of the death penalty, folks who come to my mind are folks like Angela Davis and Brian Stevenson. And another individual who comes to mind because of a meeting that I was able to have with them is Brother Anthony Ray Hinton. Brother Hinton was actually helped to be freed by Brian Stevenson's Equal Justice Initiative. He's a son of Birmingham, Alabama, who's imprisoned for 28 years for a murder that he didn't commit. I mean, he was imprisoned. He was not free. He was jailed. But the thing that's so amazing about Brother Hinton and that he communicated to us is that there was a part of him that was able to be free. And he was able to be free because of a narrative that was taught to him with his mother while he was younger. It was predicated on this fundamental note. He said, they didn't give me my joy, so they couldn't take it away. They didn't give me my joy, so they couldn't take it away. And he meant that stuff. Now, certainly, again, Brother Hinton was behind bars for a murder that he did not commit. So certainly he had to do heavy lifting psychologically, spiritually, and philosophically to maintain a certain level of freedom, but he was able to maintain it. And the incredible thing, the superhero thing that happened on the other side of his getting out of jail was that he taught others. He was an example. He was positive, despite being done wrong, despite being placed physically, not just psychologically or sociologically in the margins. He was able to present his best self because of that core narrative that was taught to him while he was younger. So we're back to this idea of the buddy narrative. Now, the buddy narrative, again, is special to me. I mean, I'm naming it the buddy narrative, but again, they're inner narratives that we all have. Now, my granddaddy, like I said, he was a chemistry professor. He used and lifted the best of people like a science, which makes all the sense in the world because he was a scientist, right? But the thing is that his ability to be good, his ability to do good was not uncommon. It's something that's quite common that we can do in the everyday. It's a wholeness. It's a health. It's a perspective that we have that is important to tap into because so often, again, the things that are presented for us to ascribe to are pathological, deficit-oriented, and negative. And then what's also important for us to recognize is that black folk in general, through our lived experiences, have so much that we can teach about how it is that we can maintain goodness, how we can maintain sanity, and how we can help to teach paradigm shifting. Now, obviously, this is a picture of David, who is me, and Buddy, who is Granddaddy. But this is more than just a picture, right? Granddaddy is my freedom fighter. He is my superhero. He sets the tone and centers the best positive narrative of how it is that I could be. Buddy is important to me, and I love him so. What's your buddy's name?